Factor and solve. Your title is Factor and Solve. Your essential question is on the board. All right, how do I factor and solve polynomials? Why do I say polynomials and not a trinomial? Tri is 3. Could you have a binomial? Yeah. So we don't want to just classify it as trinomials because we could have binomials as well. Okay. All right, so let's talk about what it means to factor and solve. First of all, when I say factor, what do you think of? GCF, very good. What else? Not factor trace. That's for radicals, but we don't have radicals. When I say factor, what do you think of? How? Using the what? How do you factor? What tool do you use to factor? That's an operation, not a tool. What tool do you use to factor? That's when you have a radical. I don't know about you, but I draw an X. Don't you? Oh, yeah? The most important part of the factoring. And then from X, you go to what? Box. Right? Okay. Do we have to do the X? You do? No, you could also do what? We just did it on the board. One of them was just a GCF, and the other one was a GCF with what? Thank you. Let's talk about what it means to solve. What does it mean to solve? What's it mean to solve? What has it meant to solve since you were like in, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade? Find what? Find the answer. You're finding the answer. Now what we have to know, though, is anytime you find the answer, it has to be, when you solve equations, what do they have? What makes it an equation? Has an equal sign. So we need to have an equal sign, so it's equal set to 0. Right? You have to have an equals. We're going to have it set equal to 0. That's the important part. Before, when you solve equations, it doesn't matter what it's equal to, but now it does matter. We do need it equal to 0. So we are going to make sure that we have an equal sign that's equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, we'll have to fix it. But in the meantime, we should hope that it's equal to 0. Okay? So do we know how to do all of these things on this side? Yeah. Do you know how to set up things like solve equations? Yes or no? I hope so. You passed IM1, so I'm hoping you solve equations. So if you know how to set factor, you know how to solve equations, you can do the two together. Okay? All right. So we have x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. Once again, I said it must be equal to what? 0. So remember, this must be 0. Hey, didn't you do something similar to this yesterday on the quadratics page? Do you remember seeing it? Number 4. You look at number 4. Doesn't it have a 0 in it? Okay. Oh, there was a way to do it. You just didn't know how. So this is how we actually go about doing it. Some of you started it off, and I said, you can factor it, and then you just didn't know what to do, which is fine. So guess what you're going to do here? You're going to factor. You're going to ignore the 0, and you're just going to go factor. So I need everyone to factor. What are our answers? What's our answer? You should have an answer, yes? You should have factored it, yes? Because A is what? B is what? C is what? On top of the x is what? On the bottom? On the sides? 2 and negative 1. All right, so in the box, you should have factored it. I don't know why I'm doing this baby steps. Here we go. X squared and 1x have what in common? X squared and 1x have what in common? X. 2x and 2 have what in common? Positive or negative? Positive. X squared and 2x have what in common? Negative 1 and negative 2. So you should have had x at minus 1 and x plus 2, yes? Who had it right? Good. You're probably going to pass tomorrow's quiz. Good job. The rest of you, catch up. Let's go. You said it equal. Oh, wait. It was equal to what? 0. Bring down that 0 right now. Okay, so yesterday you were sitting there and you were like, well, I don't know what to do now, and you didn't know it was equal to 0. So watch the magic. Your x squared means you have 2 answers. If you were x cubed, you would have how many answers? Cubed. 3. To the 4th power? 4. Do you see how this works? So you're x squared, so you have to have 2 answers. Yes and no, but we'll pretend for now. First answer, watch the magic. We're going to set up 2 equations. The first equation is x minus 1 equals 0. The second equation is just cover the other one. You get x plus 2 equals 0. See how that works? We said x plus 1 minus 1 equals 0, and then we said x plus 2 equals 0. Okay? So we're going to solve it. What do we do here? Add 1. So we get x equals 1. And over here we get x equals negative 2. All right. Now, yesterday, if you look at your quadratic paper at the very top, it said y equals. Yes? And then all of a sudden, down on number 4, we switched it to 0. Do you see that? Because your paper should be on your desk, so you should be looking at it and not just me talking to you. So you should have it out, because I said it should be on your desk. So you're referencing that, yes? So you look at the top, and it says y equals, and then all of a sudden you look at number 4, and I throw in a 0. What is replacing? What did the 0 replace? The y. Since 0 replaced the y, this right here is actually ordered pairs. Okay? Since it's ordered pairs, that 1 is representing what? What letter is that? X. So there's a 1 there. And this x is being numbered negative 2. Now I told you that at the very top you had a y. And number 4 comes along and they throw in a 0. And Angel just told me that the 0 is replacing which letter? Y. So if 0 is replacing y, this term right here should be a 0. Because your 0 is now what? It's your y. Fancy that. What does it mean to be 1, 0, negative 2, 0? What does that mean? It is on the graph. Points are on the graph, yes. What does that mean? You have your graph in front of you. Look at it. What does it mean if I was negative 2, 0, and 1, 0? On the what? Look at your picture. It's going to be on the x-axis. So if I'm sitting on the x-axis, what is that representing? What? If you're sitting on the x-axis, what is that called? You learned it in IM1. Some of you learned it in IM2. Some of you learned it in 8th grade. What does it mean to be sitting on the x-axis? I'm not going to tell you. You need to find it. Figure it out. Talk. Because I'm not telling you. What is it, Alex? Thank you, sir. It's an x-intercept. X-intercepts means you're sitting on the x-axis. It means your y term is always what? 0. Thank you, sir. Okay. Go to letter B. 12x squared plus 5x minus 2 equals 0. You should be able to factor this and solve this. You should be able to factor and solve. Okay? Most of us factored, right? A is 12, yes? B is 5, and C is negative 2. On top of the x is negative 24. On the bottom is 5. Your two side numbers are what? 8 and negative 3. Some of you are skipping the step of bringing down stuff, and then you're not putting it in the box correctly. I'd be careful. So this is 12x squared. This is positive 8x. This is negative 5x, and that's a negative 2. Yes? All right. Pulling out your GCF. What goes into 12 and 5? Oh, 8. Just kidding. Why did I write 5? And you told me I was wrong. That should be 3. Should be a 3. I read my 3 as a 5. Don't ask, guys. It should be a 3. That's a negative 3, yeah? All right, let's try that again. 12 and 3. What has that in common? 3x. Good. 8 and 2. Positive or negative? Positive. 12 and 8. 4x. Negative 3 and negative 2. Negative 1. Good. So your binomials are 4x minus 1 and 3x plus 2 equals 0. Yes? Some of you had this, yeah? Good. Then you break it up into how many equations? 2. And a lot of you don't know how to solve a two-step equation, so I'm going to show you how to solve a two-step equation. Ready? Pay attention. Because you missed something in IM1. You're studying this up. The inverse of subtraction is what? Addition. So you add 1 to both sides. You get 4x equals 1. Yes? Divide both sides by what? 4. 1 over 4 is 1 over 4. I get x is 1/4. That was the most missed mistake I see as I'm walking around. It's not that you guys couldn't factor, it's that you didn't know how to solve the equation. Some people were stuck on factoring still, but most of us knew how to factor. 1/4 comma what? 0. Okay, over here, subtract both sides by what? Negative 2. So we get 3x equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 3. So x equals negative 2/3. Ordered pair is negative 2/3 comma what? 0. Some of you had beautiful answers to here, and then it was a hot mess, or you just didn't know what to do, because all of a sudden it didn't equal pretty numbers, right? Okay. Some of you made the mistake and didn't fill in the box correctly because you didn't bring down your stuff. If you're still not bringing down your stuff correctly, then you need to be careful. Okay. Let's do another. What haven't I done? What kind? Oh, a binomial. Let's do a binomial. Sounds like a good idea, Tyler. And let's do 12x squared minus 4x equals 0. 12x squared minus 4x equals 0. What does this one have? GCF. What's the GCF? 4. Okay, we get 3x squared minus what? I'm going to put a 1 in front. What now? Factor again another GCF of a what? Of an x. What's left? 3x minus 1. Now what? Is there anything in common? No, you have subtraction. Can I take square roots? No, I don't have an x squared term. Can I keep factoring? No, I cannot. In the front is 3x, or 4x. In the parentheses is 3x minus 1. Don't forget it's equal to what? 0. Okay. Who wants to take a guess of one of the equations? Take a guess. What's the first equation? Jaime, what's the first equation? You had it on your paper. Don't lie to me. You solved something. What did you solve, though? 3x over 1? Oh my, he can't read his writing, that's why. 3x what? Minus 1 is what? Equals 0. Pretty sure on the other side I did what with it? Remember me covering? Do you remember? There was a reason. So there's one of them. Oh, 4x equals 0. Very good. Because I can cover it. I can cover it. Yes? Okay. 4x equals 0, so what does x equal? 0. Divide by 4, guys. Divide by 4. We get x is 0, so we get 0, comma, 0. You're sitting on the origin, yes? Over here, what do you do to both sides? Add 1, so you get 3x equals 1. Divide and get x equals 1/3. Ordered pair? 1/3, comma, 0. How many of us at least got to here? Good. This right here is the most missed problem. You're forgetting your variables. You just let them go. Or don't care about them. Don't be mean to them. Okay? Now, I'm going to bring up two things. I'm not going to go all the way through solving, so we're going to kind of put a line. Because it's like a snapshot into your homework, not an actual, like, problem. So 5x squared minus 6x plus 12 equals a negative 4. Why is it different? It's not equal to 0. What's the rule say?
It has to be 0.
It has to be 0. So if I need it to be 0, how do I make it 0? Add 4. Why are we going to add 4? Because it's negative 4 and the opposite is positive, yes? Okay, so when I add 4 to the other side, am I going to add it to 5x squared, negative 6x, or the 12? Very good. That will be 0, yes? Make sense? Okay, we're not going to finish it because this doesn't factor. All right, next one. That's why I kind of drew a line because we're not going all the way through. We're just kind of talking about it. If I get something, pretend this is an answer. Do you understand? Pretend I factor. My GCF was a 4. My two binomials are x plus 1 and x minus 1. And then I know that's equal to 0. Yes? Fair statement? This is like we've done all the work and now we're at the bottom and getting ready to solve. Yes? Okay, makes sense? I have a 4 in the front. What is the operation between the 4 and the x? What's the operation? Not what property is it? What's the operation? Multiplication. So if it's multiplication, I don't want to distribute or multiply because that just takes me back to what I started with, right? Because remember, when you're factoring and multiplication are opposites of each other, right? So if I start here and I multiply, I end up back up here. And if I wanted to multiply and I factor, then I'm just kind of going back and forth. So it doesn't work. Do you understand? So if I know this is multiplication, what's the inverse of multiplication? Divide. It's division. So if I divide by 4, doesn't this just kind of go away? Because 4 divided by 4 is what? No, it's not 0. It's 1. Okay? But 0 divided by 4 is what? 0. And then do I have two equations I can set up? Do you see it? You now have 2 equations you can set up. Does that make sense? So all I have to do is show I divide by 4. Do I need to show I divide by 4? Yes. Do I need to show I divide by the constant coefficient here? Yeah. If it's a coefficient, just a number by itself, I need to divide it out. If it's a variable, then you're stuck with like letter C. Make sense? Questions? All right. I'm done. This is what you're going to do. Listening? Couple things. Number 1 is if you need to finish up your quadratics 1 through 7, I'm only grading 1 through 7, you're going to talk with your group and figure it out. Get it in. That needs to be stapled and put in a pile. Now, their pile is this way. You're not the same class, so your pile should be which way? Up and down. Do you understand? So you're going to cross it. So their pile's sitting there, you're going to go right on top of them, just turning yours the opposite way. So if you're good, 1 through 7, you're going to go staple and turn it in. Otherwise, you're going to get out paper and you're going to start your homework, which is going to be on a separate sheet of paper folded up into boxes. Most of you need to fold into 4s because you write too big.